Welcome to This Explainer! Today we're diving straight into the full text of Psalm 115. We're actually going to read through the entire chapter together, breaking down its striking cosmic contrasts and unpacking its brilliant ancient poetic structure. Okay, let's just jump right in. The text opens with this profound, really grounding statement of humility. Verse 1 says, "Not unto us, O Lord, not unto us, but to your name give glory, because of your mercy, because of your truth." Right out of the gate, the authors are completely stripping away their own ego, aren't they? They're setting up a worldview where human achievement takes a total backseat to divine mercy and truth. But this posture of humility isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's actually a direct response to a really hostile environment.
And that brings us to the central conflict of the whole piece. It's an existential threat. Outsiders are basically taunting the authors with this incredibly provocative question. Verse 2 goes, "Why should the Gentiles say, 'So where is their God?'" You can practically feel the cultural tension bubbling up here. The surrounding nations have these physical statues, right? Visible, tangible representations of their deities. And they're looking at this group of people who worship an invisible God. And they're mocking them. They're demanding physical proof. It's a massive crisis of perception. The authors are being challenged to defend the validity of their faith in a world that absolutely demands material evidence.
So how do they respond? Let's look at section 1. Whom do we glorify? Establishing the divine contrast.
They don't panic. They don't scramble to build a statue just to compete. Instead, they pivot to this huge cosmic perspective. Verses 3 and 4 say, "But our God is in heaven. He does whatever he pleases. Their idols are silver and gold, the work of men's hands." Just look at that stark juxtaposition. On one side, we have limitless agency, total cosmic sovereignty, a God who literally does whatever he pleases. And on the other, finite materiality. Sure, silver and gold might be economically valuable, but at the end of the day, they are just crafted metals. They are completely confined by the limitations of the human hands that manufactured them.
Which leads us perfectly into section 2, the absurdity of idols and the anatomy of a false god. Here the authors are about to completely dismantle the concept of idolatry piece by piece.
Now this part is fascinating. The ancient writers used this rapid-fire list to highlight the utter uselessness and lifelessness of these material idols. As we read through verses 5 to 7, I really want you to catch the deliberate, almost mocking rhythm of the poetry here. They have mouths, but they do not speak. Eyes they have, but they do not see. They have ears, but they do not hear. Noses they have, but they do not smell. They have hands, but they do not handle. Feet they have, but they do not walk, nor do they mutter through their throat. The text systematically runs through the entire human sensory experience and just totally strips it away from these statues. Despite having the physical form of living beings, they possess absolutely zero vitality. They are totally inert.
And the punchline comes in verse 8. "Those who make them are like them, so is everyone who trusts in them." Wow. The crucial point the source is making here is a timeless psychological warning. Humans inevitably become as lifeless as the material things they put their ultimate trust in. It's a really profound insight into human nature, isn't it? The argument is that worship is formative. If you dedicate your life to empty, blind, and deaf material objects, whether that's an ancient statue or a modern obsession with wealth and status, you will eventually become spiritually and morally numb yourself, blind and deaf to what actually matters. You literally become a reflection of what you prioritize. After exploring that heavy emotional low point about the deadness of idols, the text gives us a major turning point in section 3, a threefold call to trust, and the poem's rhythmic architecture.
They shift away from critiquing outsiders to a direct, really urgent call to their own community. Listen closely to the architectural design of verses 9 through 11. "O Israel, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. O house of Aaron, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield. You who fear the Lord, trust in the Lord. He is their help and their shield." You hear that? In ancient oral traditions, this kind of threefold repetition was incredibly powerful. It wasn't just repetitive to take up space, it was a structural anchor to aid memory. It calls out to the nation at large, then specifically to the religious leaders, the house of Aaron, and finally to all individuals who hold reverence. And the promise? It's consistent across the board. Protection, a help and a shield against the anxieties and threats of the world.
And this defensive protection actually builds into something even bigger. Let's move to section 4, the promise of blessing, a crescendo of increase.
Notice how the text systematically expands the scope of this blessing to cover institutions, people of all social statuses, and even future generations. Continuing our reading of the chapter with verses 12 through 14, "The Lord has been mindful of us. He will bless us. He will bless the house of Israel. He will bless the house of Aaron. He will bless those who fear the Lord, both small and great. May the Lord give you increase more and more, you and your children. I absolutely love that detail right in the middle, both small and great. The ancient text is totally democratizing this blessing. It doesn't matter if you're at the very top of the social hierarchy or the absolute bottom, the mindfulness and blessing of God apply equally to you. Plus, it's not just a temporary state. It's an intergenerational promise of increase for you and your children.
The poem then anchors these promises directly to the creator of the cosmos. Verse 15 declares, "May you be blessed by the Lord, who made heaven and earth." The authors are powerfully reminding their audience that the source of their blessing isn't some local, regional deity confined to a physical temple, but the literal architect of reality itself. And that perfectly sets up the text's final philosophical shift.
That brings us to our final segment, Section 5, the purpose of the living, cosmic boundaries, and silence.
Having established who God is and the total folly of idols, the text now turns inward to our role. Verse 16 says, "The heaven, even the heavens, are the Lord's, but the earth he has given to the children of men." This is a massive delegation of responsibility. The text is laying out the ancient author's view of the universe, clearly separating the divine domain of heaven from the terrestrial realm, the earth, which has been directly entrusted to humanity. We aren't just passive observers down here, we are the active stewards of this space. But as we all know, this stewardship comes with a time limit. The text introduces a really stark, somber contrast between the living and the dead, characterizing death as a descent into absolute silence. Verse 17 brings us face to face with our own mortality. The dead do not praise the Lord, nor any who go down into silence. It's a very pragmatic ancient view of death, isn't it? A complete cessation of activity. A realm where voices can no longer be heard. The silence of the grave stands in absolute direct contrast to the living, breathing world above. Yet, in direct defiance of that looming silence, the arc of the poem resolves with an active, indefinite commitment by the living to use their voices. The final verse of the chapter, verse 18, rings out, "But we will bless the Lord from this time forth and forevermore, praise the Lord." That word "but" at the very beginning of the sentence is absolutely crucial. While the dead are silent, the living will speak. It's a defiant pledge to fill the earth, the very space given to humanity, with purpose, gratitude, and sound for as long as they have breath.
To wrap up this explainer, I really want to leave you with a thought derived straight from the text we just read. Considering the fleeting nature of life and the immense agency given to us here on earth, what are you going to do with your voice? The authors of Psalm 115 looked around at a world filled with silent, lifeless idols, and they chose instead to dedicate their brief time on earth to vocal, vibrant purpose. They recognize that while the heavens have their own order, the earth is our responsibility, and well, silence comes for us all eventually. So, as you reflect on this brilliant ancient structure we've explored today, ask yourself, how are you utilizing the space and the voice you've been given?